Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. You know how much we love to dig into the nitty-gritty of, well, just about everything.
Pretty much.
And today is no exception.
Not at all.
We are tackling a question that I think everyone has thought about at some point in their lives.
Yeah.
City versus village life.
It's such a big question.
It really is. It's a big decision that can shape, well, pretty much every aspect of your life, right?
Absolutely. I think especially now, so many people are reconsidering their priorities, thinking about what really matters.
Right,
So
exactly.
it brings them fulfillment.
Yeah, where do you want to live? What kind of life do you want to live?
Exactly.
And so to get into that, we have some super interesting source material to help us unpack this a little bit.
Right.
And in this deep dive, we're going to focus specifically on daily routines,
Okay.
the rhythm of life in the city versus the village.
The pace of life can be so different.
So different.
And it really affects so many things. I mean, not only how productive you are, but also your well-being.
Right, your sense of connection to the world around you.
Yeah. How you interact with everything.
It's so true. So to kind of kick things off, I was looking at this article
Okay.
about the daily grind in a big city.
Yeah.
And the thing that really jumped out at me, it said the average commute time was over an hour
Wow.
each way.
That's a lot.
So 2 hours a day just getting to and from work.
Oh, for sure. And that's not even considering like running errands, going to appointments,
Right.
squeezing in any kind of social life.
Yeah, it's true. And this article, it calls this time poverty,
Oh, interesting.
which I thought was so interesting, this idea that you're constantly feeling rushed
Yeah.
and stressed, and there's no time for anything.
There's no time to relax, no time for yourself.
Right. So the city itself is almost like this force that's pushing you along.
It has its own pulse,
Yes.
its own rhythm.
Exactly,
Like
exactly.
you kind of have to keep up with it.
You get swept up in it.
Yeah, yeah.
But the article also did point out that there are, of course, some benefits to this fast-paced lifestyle, right?
Of course,
It's
yeah.
like, city dwellers, they often talk about the energy,
Yeah.
the efficiency.
Right,
Like
yeah.
everything is at your fingertips,
That's-
24/7.
You need something at 2 in the morning. You can probably find it.
You can find it. Gourmet coffee shops,
Feels
late-night
familiar.
grocery stores.
Yeah.
Everything.
You're never bored.
You're never bored.
There's always something going on.
It's exciting. There are always new things to see and do.
Yeah, definitely.
But there's a flip side, right? Because
Yeah.
the article also talked about this thing called urban fatigue.
Oh, yeah.
So you eventually hit a wall, right?
Yeah.
And you're just like, I need to slow down.
You just need a break.
I need a break. I need
Yeah.
something different.
Yeah. It's interesting how our needs and preferences shift over time, right?
Right.
What might have seemed really exciting in your 20s could feel totally draining as you get older.
Absolutely, yeah.
Totally.
So that brings us to the other side,
Yeah.
the village.
The slower pace of life.
Yeah, I found this amazing study that compared daily routines in a small, like rural village
Okay.
to those in a nearby city.
Okay.
And it was such a stark contrast.
I bet. What did they find?
So one of the things that they found was that the villagers, they had much more regular sleep patterns.
Oh, that makes sense.
They're going to bed earlier, waking up earlier.
Yeah.
And they reported feeling, more rested, more energized throughout the day.
That makes sense. I feel like village life is much more connected to
Yes.
the natural rhythms.
The natural rhythms, you're waking up in the sun,
Exactly.
going to bed when it gets dark.
Yeah.
And the study actually found that that connection to nature
Mm-hmm.
extended to a lot of different parts of their daily lives.
Okay.
So they're more likely to be outside.
Okay.
They were gardening,
Yeah.
walking in the woods, just sitting on their porch, enjoying the fresh air.
There's just something so grounding about being in nature,
It's true.
Helps you slow down,
Yes.
de-stress,
Yeah.
reconnect with yourself.
And the study found that, in general, the village life was just much slower.
Okay.
They didn't feel as rushed.
Yeah.
They didn't feel as stressed,
Even if they had a lot to do.
even if they had a lot to do. Yeah.
That's interesting.
And they were still able to get it all done.
Yeah, I feel like when you remove all of that external stimulation,
Yeah.
that pressure,
Yeah.
it creates space for a more mindful way of life.
Yes. A more intentional way of life.
Yeah, yeah.
But of course, village life does have its challenges too, right?
Right, of course.
What happens if you need to, see a specialist doctor?
Right.
Or you just want to go out to a fancy restaurant? What do you do?
Right.
And that's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Because the study found that villagers, they were much more likely to, turn to their social networks for support. So, if someone needs to go to the doctor in the city,
Right.
they're going to carpool with a neighbor
Yeah.
or have a friend watch their kids.
Right.
So that tight-knit community feeling
Yeah.
actually helps them solve those logistical challenges.
Yeah, that's great.
Which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, it speaks to a different way of life, right? Where
Yes.
everyone is kind of looking out for each other.
More interdependence.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
woven into the fabric of the community.
It is.
Yeah,
It's fascinating, I think,
it is.
how these different environments can really shape how you approach your day-to-day life.
Absolutely.
And I'm curious, for our listeners out there, I mean, what are you thinking right now? What stands out to you? Does that city, that fast-paced energy,
Yeah.
does that appeal to you? Or are you feeling more drawn to that slower pace?
The connection to nature.
The connection to nature, the village life?
Yeah.
Let us know.
Yeah. It's amazing how adaptable we are as humans.
Yeah.
We can get used to almost any environment. It's true.
But then those environments, they really do end up shaping how we see things.
Absolutely.
Like our whole perception of time,
Right.
of productivity, of what's normal.
It's true.
Like you were saying, that commute,
Yeah.
someone from a village, they would think that's insane.
Oh, totally.
But for a city dweller, it's just Tuesday, right?
It's just part of life.
Yeah, yeah.
And that actually reminds me of another really interesting point from that village life study.
Okay.
It talked about the impact of daily routines on our sense of community.
Oh, interesting.
So the study found that the villagers, they were much more likely to do things in their daily lives that fostered those social connections.
Okay, like what kind of things?
Like they would stop and chat with their neighbors,
Yeah.
or they would go to local events,
Yeah.
help out with community projects, things like that.
Right, and it's so much easier to do that in a village.
It is.
It's like those
Yeah.
interactions, they're just built into the day.
Yes.
You're always bumping into people you know.
Right, exactly. And that just naturally creates this sense of belonging
Yes, it does.
and shared purpose, like we're all in this together.
Absolutely.
It's interesting, the study also highlighted how important those small interactions are
Yeah.
for our well-being.
Right. Like it actually makes a difference.
It does, yeah.
And how happy we are.
People who feel connected to their community, they tend to be happier overall,
Yeah.
more satisfied with their lives.
It's true. There's so much research coming out about how social connection
Yeah,
is essential for human thriving.
it is. It really is.
Like it reduces stress,
Yeah,
improves your mental and physical health,
absolutely.
can even help you live longer.
That's amazing.
It's crazy, right? So all those little chats with your neighbors,
Right.
those gatherings at the local pub,
Exactly.
they're actually good for you.
Yeah, it's not just idle chit-chat.
No,
It's like we're strengthening the social fabric of the community.
exactly, building those bonds.
Yeah, yeah.
But what's interesting is that the study found while city dwellers, they might have more options for social activities.
Right, more choices.
More choices, yeah.
More things to do.
They actually have fewer of those spontaneous,
Right.
organic moments of connection
Interesting.
that seem to be just woven into the fabric of village life.
Yeah, you're not just bumping into people on the street so much in the city.
Not as much.
Everyone's in their own little bubble.
Yeah, and even when you do get together with people,
Yeah.
it's often like a planned thing.
Right. You've got to schedule it.
You've got to schedule it weeks in advance.
Yeah.
You go to a restaurant, you go to a bar.
Yeah. It's more structured.
There's more structure.
You're focused on the activity, not just being together.
Right. Yeah.
Which makes me think of this article I read about social loneliness.
Oh, yeah.
It's this idea that you can be surrounded by people all the time in the city,
Yeah.
but still feel completely isolated.
Alone in a crowd.
Yeah, if you're not really connecting with anyone.
Right. Those relationships lack depth.
Exactly. It's like that saying, loneliness is not the absence of people, but the absence of connection.
It's so true.
And that connection comes from those shared experiences,
Yes.
shared values,
Yeah.
that sense of belonging.
And those things are often easier to find in a village setting, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that you can't find them in the city,
Right.
but it takes more effort.
You have to be more intentional about it.
Exactly.
You have to seek it out.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's not about, like, saying one lifestyle is better than the other.
right.
It's about recognizing the unique opportunities and challenges
Absolutely.
that each environment presents.
And figuring out what works for you,
Exactly.
what aligns with your values.
Yeah, and what you need to feel connected.
Yeah, that's a great point.
That's a great point.
It really gets to the heart of this whole discussion.
It does. And speaking of things that are important for a fulfilling life, I want to talk about work-life balance.
Okay.
I came across this case study that looked at two individuals, one living in a city, one in a village,
Okay.
both working in similar fields, but with totally different approaches to balancing their work and personal lives.
Okay. I'm interested. Tell me more.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. So we've talked about daily routines, we've talked about community, work-life balance.
Yeah, all really key aspects of this whole city versus village debate.
Totally. And for this last part, I want to look at it something a little different.
Okay.
The impact of our environment on creativity and inspiration.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, right. Like, does your environment help your creative juices flow?
Right.
Or does it kind of block them?
Stifle them.
Yeah, exactly. And there's actually this study
Okay.
that I found that looked at this exact question.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They had two groups of artists.
Okay.
One group lived in a bustling city, known for its art scene.
Like a real hub of creativity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the other group was in a remote village, surrounded by nature.
Okay, two totally different vibes.
Total opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm really curious to hear what they found.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the city artists, they talked about how they were inspired by, like, all the energy,
Synth.
the diversity, all the different things happening.
Right, like the city itself is almost like
Yeah.
a source of inspiration.
The living muse.
Yeah, exactly.
And the study found that these artists, they really thrived on that, like, spontaneity,
Okay.
the unpredictability,
Yeah.
always something new.
Like you were saying, so many things to connect.
Yes, exactly.
You like that quote, creativity is just connecting things.
It's true.
And there are a lot of things to connect in a city.
So many things.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The village artists, even though they were in a much quieter environment,
Yeah.
they were also having these incredible breakthroughs,
Oh, wow.
but in a completely different way.
Okay, so how was it different?
So for them, it was about being surrounded by nature,
Okay.
that stillness, that simplicity,
right, the peacefulness.
the peacefulness.
Yeah.
Talk about slowing down,
Okay.
observing, like the light changing,
Oh, wow.
listening to the sounds of nature.
That's beautiful.
It was a much more contemplative
Yeah.
kind of process.
Really internal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And their artwork actually reflected that.
Oh, interesting.
It was very peaceful, very tranquil.
It's amazing how our surroundings can shape our creative expression.
It really is.
It's not always about having a ton of external stimulation.
Like
Sometimes it's about creating space for that internal inspiration
It's true. It's true.
to come through.
And that actually makes me think, even for people who aren't artists,
Yeah,
how can we create environments that inspire us,
that's a great question.
whether we're in a city or a village?
Right, right.
How do we find that inspiration?
Well, I think this study shows that inspiration can come from anywhere
It's true.
if we're open to it.
If we're paying attention,
Yeah, yeah.
looking at the world with fresh eyes.
Exactly. Noticing the beauty around us,
Yeah.
even in the everyday moments.
It's true.
And I think that's something we can all do no matter where we live.
So whether you're in a bustling city or a peaceful village,
Yeah,
there's inspiration to be found.
absolutely.
You just have to look for it.
Yeah, be open to it.
I think that's a perfect note to end on.
It
This
is.
has been such a fascinating conversation.
It has. I've really enjoyed it.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think we've covered so much ground,
Yeah, we've looked at this debate from all angles.
all the angles. So hopefully this has given our listeners a lot to think about
Yeah, some food for thought.
as they consider their own lives
Absolutely.
and what kind of environment they want to create for themselves.
Exactly what feels right for them.
And if you enjoy this episode, please let us know.
Yeah, leave us a comment.
Share it with your friends.
We love hearing from you.
We do. And be sure to tune in next week
For another deep dive.
into a whole new topic.
We'll see you then.
See you then.
Wait a second. You're watching this and haven't liked it. What? Hit that like button now. And don't even think about leaving without subscribing.